Ciao amici, I'm Master Leo Spizzeri, and we're early morning on the set today, and all the boys, guess what? Figure this, are hungry.
We're hungry.
So there's one thing that I can make in a pinch, and so can you. It's a delicious focaccia, and I just happen to have all the ingredients in front of me ready to go, and I'm gonna show you how to make this quick, simple bread that you can make any day of the week and look like a superstar at your own kitchen table. "35 years, this never gets old." Before I get started, I'm gonna go ahead and preheat my oven. Today I'm gonna be using the Leggero Pro. Right now I'm set on low because this oven's been on for about 45 minutes already, and I don't wanna increase the temperature too much. You'll be surprised with this little door closed, even though it's vented, how much heat is retained inside of this oven. Right now, even on low, I'm probably somewhere about 575, 600 degrees. Guess what? 608, close enough for horseshoes, right? So let's go ahead and get started. Taking a book from my grandmother's page, she would have taken little tomatoes like this and a paring knife. I had my buddy Andy, who's right behind the camera right now, actually dusting or taking a little bit of the condensation with a little rag. I had him dimple just like gently, taking all the moisture off of these tomatoes, and that's why they look so beautiful and polished. They don't normally look like this, right? Now, I'm gonna take a bunch of tomatoes. There's no rules here. We're just looking for fresh tomatoes. Right now, even though I'm in the middle of Florida and it's about 80 degrees out, we're also in the month of February, which unfortunately we're not in tomato season. So if you can't find beautiful ripe tomatoes, find tomatoes on a vine. They'll always be juicier than something that looks like it's still orange. You know, those Roma tomatoes and those plum tomatoes that are sitting in those bunkers, right? Those aren't good. They look frozen. You'll notice that I didn't cut the tomatoes directly in half. What I did was I actually kind of tore them in half because like this, you're gonna have different textures while these are cooking. I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil to this because the idea is that we're gonna make this marinade almost. And by putting the salt in here right now, those tomatoes kind of chunked up and just being split are gonna release more of that tomato juice inside. And what's gonna happen is on the bottom, you're gonna have this beautiful, almost like a sauce, really fresh. And that on top of this focaccia is gonna give you this beautiful caramelized edge. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. I got salt, pepper, a little oregano. Let's put a little bit of garlic in here. Why not, right? Or let's put a lot of garlic. Let me get my big knife. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna smash. You'll see how nice this kind of disintegrates when we smash like that. And then just a little chop. Because I like a little bit of that texture of the garlic. Not a lot, just enough. There we go. And then the last thing that we're gonna do is just get a spoon, and I'm gonna give this a nice quick stir here. This is one of those things that you can actually do even an hour, 2 hours before. So if you haven't preheated your oven yet, when you're preheating your oven, this is that step that you can go ahead and do. Ethan, check out how beautiful this tomato looks already. And you see on the bottom, look at how much juice is in there. You see that? That's like the money shot here. This is what we want on top of this as kind of like that oil, which now has got all that perfume of the tomato and all of our aromatics. Let me clean my space over here, and I'm gonna get my pan. The reason why I wanna clear this space is because don't forget, the bottom of this pan is gonna be baking for a while, and anything that's stuck under here, guess what, is gonna be stuck on the stone of your oven, and all of a sudden, it'll start creating smoke and things that you don't want. So, I've got my pan here, I've got my dough. This is my pan dough. You've seen this before. It's on the channel. Everyone goes nuts for this because I can do so many different styles. And the thing I love about this dough box is this has, though, that orange insert from the Blackstone boxes. What I did when I made my dough balls, these are 300-gram dough balls. I put a little bit of oil inside of the pan, and then what I did was I put a little bit on the top. So as these continue to rise, you'll see that they didn't really stick to the lid. Speaking of dough, let me tell you what kind of dough we're using today. I'm going to be using King Arthur bread flour for this one. Make sure you grab yourself a digital scale and tare out the bowl. When you start weighing out all your ingredients, put everything into individual bowls. Go one at a time. Make sure you have 0 on the tare, and then put all the ingredients inside the bowl. Look at that technique right there for putting honey. I like to put a little bit of oil in there first. This way the honey releases. And then I like to stir everything with my fingers. It's the best whisk you got right there. Look at that method. I'm going to stir very slowly, and once you see that half the flour has been incorporated into the water along with the salt and the honey, I'm going to add my yeast, and then just keep stirring with your fingers until you make a paste. Put the last bit of flour in there, continue stirring until you start to feel that gluten is formed. And look at that, I can actually get it to the point where it starts to pull away from the bowl. I add the oil in at the very end, making this beautiful smooth dough. Give it a quick knead on top of the countertop, and then once you have it all kneaded and it's nice and smooth, I'm going to take that dough, cover it with some plastic. This is going to let it rest, and then go ahead, divide your dough balls out. Make sure you weigh them because you want everything consistent. This is my method for rolling dough balls. Make those points, fold them into the center, and then once I have a nice tight dough ball, I pinch it into a change purse from the bottom, and look at that, a perfect dough ball every time. Stick it into one of those Blackstone dough boxes. I like to put 6 in a box, throw a lid on top, stick that in the refrigerator until you need them, and there you go. You'll notice that some of my dough balls have started touching in the proofing process. No problem. It happens all the time. Grab a little oil just like this, or even some flour if you want. You'll notice that the oil, Ethan, come on close. You'll notice that the oil went kind of into the little nooks and crannies over here. If you take like a flat edge or a scraper, you can actually cut straight down. We've deflated the dough a little bit, which is just fine because we're going to allow this to proof one more time. And in this process now, I can get underneath the dough. Watch how cool this is. I can get underneath the dough using my fingers, give this a pull, and I can pinch this straight off. Now all of a sudden, as I'm going into my pan, I'm laying this in. I'm going to close my box right away so that we're not getting these dough balls overly dried, and I'm going to show you how we finish this. Now, you'll notice we just put oil on top of this dough, right? So on top of this dough, we have a little bit of oil, but there's no oil in this pan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit more oil on the top of this dough, not in the pan. Why? Because the oil wants to stick better to the dough. All it's going to do is just slide on the pan. So by doing this, I'm going to give this just a little dimple with my fingers. Ethan, come in. Look over here, all these beautiful little gas bubbles. That dough was popping out of the dough box a second ago, but because of my gentle movement underneath the dough, I was able to retain that air inside over here. Now that this is inside, I'm going to lift very gently. I'm going to flip, because the oil is all saturated onto the other side. And guess what? My hands already have oil on them too, which means that nothing is going to stick to anything. All I'm going to do is really just square this off, and then starting with my fingers to the edges, I'm pressing down to the edges of the pan. And just like that, without very much movement, the dough is in. This is one of those things I get all kinds of questions on the Blackstone channel about, saying, hey, Chef Leo, all of a sudden I'm trying to stretch dough and it wants to snap back inside the pan when I make my Detroits and Sicilians and all that. This is the one error that everybody has. So just simply push this all the way down, and then the last thing we're gonna do is just grab a little bit of plastic wrap, cover this up. This needs to go somewhere not hot, somewhere warm, and let it sit there for about 40 minutes to an hour, and you'll see that it's going to double in size. Now, just so that we can go a little quicker, I've done that already, and here we go. Ethan, come on here. I'm going to show you this, right? As this sat with that plastic wrap, look at all those beautiful little micro blisters. These little bubbles underneath the skin that we've created, they're all trapped inside. You can physically see where my fingers dimpled this dough. And because I had some olive oil on the top of this, look at that. Beautiful, right? Can't make this up, guys. It's just a little bit of fun. It's technique. It's not very hard at all. You can do this. I got you, right? Now, we've got this set over here. Because we've got this kind of like cushion, right? Look at that. It kind of jiggles like Andy. Oh, just kidding. Oh. I'm going to give these tomatoes one last little stir, right? if you look at your if you look at your focaccia and you say, hey, the top looks like it absorbed all the oil inside of it, right? You can go ahead, move some of these tomatoes to the side, grab a little bit of that juice, right? Watch this. Ethan, come on over here. Look at this. Give this a little bit of a drizz, right? What do you guys call that right now? This is a new school term. Look at that. Give us a little drizzle of that tomato juice. And then I'm going to use my fingers because I normally wouldn't use a spoon at home. I'm going to use these tomatoes. With the part of the tomato that's opened up, I'm going to use that upside down and I'm going to lay the tomato with the round side up. Why? Simple, because as the tomato's cooking, I want the juice to be released here. I don't want this to release that steam coming out the top of the oven, right? So by taking them like this, look at how beautiful. If there's any of my friends watching this, and maybe you're from a place in Italy called Bari, right? Which is on the, let's call it the East Coast side of Italy, just above the heel, right? In the region maybe of Puglia around there, maybe just up in front, right around Abruzzo and all that area right there. If you know your Italian geography, you might know this as a focaccia barese, right? Now, for everybody before they start to think they're going to crucify me, focaccia barese has a little bit of potato inside this dough. This is not focaccia barese dough, but this is so close that I would bet an old lady that, hey, I would put mine up against yours. And this technique with the tomatoes like this, 100% comes from that book of focaccia barese. And you'll see that when we're cooking this like this, we're going to be able to cook and cook and cook this so that the exterior gets really beautiful and flaky. Look at that. I'm not going to say almost. We nailed this. This is the perfect amount of tomatoes, right? From here, check this out. This is like a picture. If you guys are going to screenshot something to put a thumbnail together later, that's the shot right there. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to give this, since I'm using my hands, right? I'm going to give this a little stir. Maybe in the professional chef world, my buddy Chef Nate might call this an emulsion, right? We emulsified this with all that garlic and all the olive oil and the oregano, right? And then maybe we'll just kind of like baptize it like this, right? Whatever you call that on Sunday or Easter, right? Whenever you go to church, you know, and they're giving you one of those across all the aisles, right? All of a sudden, this, to me, looks like an incredible Italian focaccia, and I would guarantee my boys on set have no idea what something is like over here because they don't make focaccia like this at Carrabba's or Olive Garden, wherever you guys are eating your Italian food, right? This last little bit here, what the heck? Let's just pour it on like that. I guarantee it's going to be delicious, right? Notice the one thing I did not do. I didn't dimple, I didn't stick my fingers in here. Why? Because the natural weight of the tomatoes as these cook are gonna come compressed down. I wanna leave as much air in here. And when we take this out of the oven, you're gonna see why. I'm gonna go into the oven right now, and then when I come back, you're gonna see how we finish this. Guys, I don't know about you, but this is amazing. Blackstone did another amazing job with this. When you see this, I want you guys to come in. Ethan, get over here. I want to show you something real fast. Look at the edges on this focaccia, how beautiful and brown. Tomatoes have started to give a little bit of that char, that caramelization. And then if I could, just entertain me for 1 minute here. Let's look underneath. I'm not even going to look. I'm going to let you guys look first.
Oh, jeez.
How does that look, guys?
Oh, perfect.
Oh yeah. Now, I know my boys are into like dipping sauces and all this other thing. Without bastardizing, Ethan, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not putting ranch on this. All right?
What?
I'm not putting ranch on this.
I'm looking forward to that.
Let me tell you what we're going to do. We got this bowl. Hopefully you didn't clean your bowl already. This has still tomato juice and oregano and all the garlic and stuff. Let's do a little something better. Think of when you're at your favorite Italian restaurant, right? I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil, give us a little bit more oregano. How about we get some Parmigiano-Reggiano? Let's make a little snowfall in here and watch what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take my, let me take this little fork over here, right? I'm gonna give this a stir. If it needs a little bit more oil because it looks dry, go ahead and give it a little bit of oil. The idea is that we're making like a quick sauce. And what's in here? What's in here is tomato juice, oregano, garlic, whatever was left over. Plus I added a little bit more fresh of olive oil, good olive oil, guys, because this is still warm. It's gonna kind of let those flavors release, and that perfume of the olive oil is gonna come out even more. This is ready to go. Get a serrated knife, okay? The reason is because if you press with a chef's knife on top of this, all that structure is gonna be compressed down. But instead, if we go nice and gentle with a serrated knife, just like this, can you hear that crispiness? How beautiful this is. Oh, and I can already see the middle. Super light, airy. This is focaccia. Look at this. This is what I want every single one of you to do at home. I'm gonna give this a quick little stir. Come right in just like that. Look at how beautiful this is. And if we really, why not, guys? We're at home, we're cooking live, right? Let's give this just a little zhuzh just like that as long as we're here. The smell of this focaccia is amazing. The thing I love the most is that focaccia is supposed to be spongy and airy. And if you look at this, look at that, guys. It springs right back up. The tomato juice is kind of absorbed into the crust or the skin of the focaccia. And the thing I love the most, when you eat this, it's going to be super light, digestible. It's not going to feel like you ate a brick. Ethan, come here. I think you should have a taste of this with me. Can you eat and film at the same time?
Let's see if I can.
You want me to hold the camera?
Sure. There we go. I've actually been on camera all of these times. Could have used ranch.
Ah! I'm gonna go for the dunk and then the bite. Oh. That crispy bite in the bottom, that oil that we put underneath the dough kind of made this bottom fry. It's super light and crispy. I hope I've encouraged you to try this for yourself at home. Let me know how you all did. Ciao, amici.